Hi, my name is Francine and I have ovarian cancer. We don't know how long I have, so my job right now is to make every day count. Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing good. I thought maybe once a year at least I should recap my journey and how I got here today because there's always things to add to. And I think there's a lot of new subscribers in the last few months. And I really appreciate you being here, whether you're new or not. But some people are going through every single video, which is awesome, but I just wanted to be able to brief people. So I'm going to go through the Reader's Digest version for part of this because we don't need to repeat everything. I found out I had cancer at 39. In my late 30s, I decided I wanted to have a baby, but I was having a lot of pain in my pelvic region. And I decided I better go check that out. And a lot of people basically said, oh, it's just gas. And that was because they couldn't feel it in a physical exam. But longer story short, they found that I was kind of a mess inside and I had a couple of tumors. So they did a hysterectomy. They didn't think it was cancerous. And so the biopsy came back that I had cancer, and it was primary peritoneal carcinoma. They also called it extra ovarian cancer. It's a very rare cancer, and at that time, only about 500 people in the United States were diagnosed. And now I think it's about 2,000. It's still very rare. And they now call it low-grade serous ovarian cancer. So the name has changed, but it is the same tissue as ovarian. It's just that low grade means it's a little bit less aggressive as far as growth, but it is a little harder to knock out. So after the surgery, after the diagnosis, I had chemotherapy. A lot of people have chemotherapy and then surgery, but we didn't know I had cancer. I was the furthest thing from my mind, actually. And they kept calling it a cyst when they found it in an ultrasound, but it wasn't a cyst. So I had the chemo. Hey, clean bill of health, no evidence of disease. Go on with your life and just check in every 6 months for a while for scans. And then eventually we moved it to every year. Nothing showed up. Little did we know, it was slowly growing in there for 20 years. And in the meantime, I couldn't have children, but I enjoyed my life. And I'm grateful for those 20 years because I really wasn't worried about getting cancer again. Not that I didn't know that I already had it, but that's how slow it grows until a certain time, and then it really, really shows up. And so it showed up. And the scan that I got diagnosed that it was back, because there was no pain or anything. There was the reason I wanted to get a scan, and I got it a little early that time. We're talking about now. The first diagnosis was like in 2003. Then the recurrent diagnosis was in 2023. So yeah, that was 20 years. So the symptoms I was having the second time around was actually nausea, fatigue, just a couple other things. I was just feeling really off, but I didn't have any pain. Like there was nothing going on in my pelvis. So I had the scan, and lo and behold, it showed something. It didn't show a lot, but it was worth a biopsy. And that biopsy showed that I had this cancer again. And then they introduced me to the new name. And I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated. So I've always had some good support around me. I don't have a big family, but who I have, I love and cherish. And I have a larger circle of friends, but a small group that, I really let in. So we got through chemo again. We didn't quite get through it. I started chemo early 2023, and it didn't work this time. Although it didn't work last time, but they just assumed it did because they'd already done the surgery. So the scans still showed there was something, but it wasn't a significant amount. They had taken surgery off the table this time because I had a lot of scar tissue in there because I'd had multiple surgeries, and even the hysterectomy that I had was the full, it wasn't laparoscopic, and it did leave a lot of scar tissue. So when the chemo didn't work, the doctor put surgery as an option again. So that's back on the table. And so I said, yeah, let's go for that, see how much you can clean out. And I let her know, the only thing I want to tell you up front is that I do not want to have a stoma. Do not take anything out. Don't resection anything, because I was already told that that was going to be major. I said, if you think a colostomy is reversible, if it will be reversible, then yeah, go ahead and do it. But I don't want any heroics. So she came out of the OR. When I woke up, I saw her actually the next morning. She said that it was all over. I mean, there was a lot more than the scans actually showed. And she said everything was fused together, like as if my intestines, my small and my large intestine, the bowel, it's all kind of one piece. It's fused together with scar tissue and tumor, and it's got tumors all over it. And she said, I would have had to take your entire bowel out. And that's just no way to live. So it's funny because I had gotten a second opinion, and I just looked at everything and said, I would have taken your whole bowel out. It's like, no, I really didn't want her to do that. He goes, oh, okay, no, I understand that. But this is what the doctors are trained to do, So she understood, and I'm glad I had told her that going in, my wishes, because I just don't want to live that way. I've opted for quality over quantity. And so basically that's, when it was determined that I was terminal. I knew it was a slow growing cancer. So part of me just knew that I'm not going to leave tomorrow. But the other part of me is like, I've seen all the movies, every time they tell you you're going to go and your cancer is terminal and nothing else we can do. Sorry. I don't know, something in the mindset says you've got 6 months, right? That's how they do it in the movies. So I kind of thought 6 months to a year, but she wasn't actually able to tell me, the oncologist. So it's just very, very hard with this cancer to determine that. In the meantime, we just kept getting scans along the way, and a couple blood tests, and the scans don't really show a lot of the tumor, not like what you can see in there with the naked eye. And it's basically because of the shapes of the tumors. There's a lot of tiny little freckles rather than big masses that would be a little bit more obvious. So a lot of the times I get these results that are, stable, and even if they're growing, you don't, or if they're multiplying, you don't know unless you get in there. So she said we could do some exploratory surgery, go back into the OR, and then she took it back off the table and said, you've got a lot of scar tissue. It probably we wouldn't be able to see anything anyway. course, I don't know what changed her mind. I mean, I was willing to do it just to see, because I'm like, how are we supposed to gauge this cancer? So that's irritating. I mean, I guess it's enough to just know it's there. And she says, well, for now, we're going to have to gauge it by the way you feel. In the meantime, I'm popping pills like crazy just for palliative, the nausea and the fatigue. The fatigue is awful, but it's getting worse now. And a couple of months ago, I was probably about a month and a half ago, maybe, I started, I would have ups and downs. I would have good days and bad days. I'd be down for a couple of days. There's times I have slept for like 18 hours. And I guess in about a month and a half, ago, I started to not bounce back as well. And I could see a difference in my energy, getting a little long-winded, going up steps, tuckering out just so easily, having to leave events early. That just was getting to be too much. So, fortunately, I did have Ritalin. That was another pill in my bag of tricks. So that's given to children for ADHD. For adults, it actually works the reverse. It gives you energy. And I only take that sparingly. I maybe take one a week if I just have to be somewhere. I have to. It gives you about, it's like an energy drink, I guess. It gives you about 6 good hours. And then you kind of crash. So I have to always be aware of that. And yeah, just like the nausea medicine, I take Zofran, but I've got like 7 other pills just in case the Zofran didn't work. But that really does work well. If I can also add a different one at night, that would kind of really knock me out. I don't like taking drugs that keep me down in the morning. It's really hard to get up. I'm just very groggy. So the latest developments about just a few weeks ago, well, 3 months ago, I should backtrack. 3 months ago, I took a new blood work, a new lab test that they've come up with. It's been out just for maybe less than 2 years, that can track it's circulating tumor DNA in your blood to see if it's traveling. And I tested negative for it 3 months ago. And a couple of weeks ago, I tested positive. There's also a number on the scale. It's hard to determine. The doctor doesn't take too much stock in that number, but we call it a little positive. So it's not off the charts, but it is positive, and it does signify that there is cancer cells in my blood now. So it's on the move. I don't know if it's going to land anywhere. I don't know. I have no idea. But at the same time, I started to be able to feel the tumors. Could it be something else? Could it be lumps of scar tissue? I guess it could be. I'm hoping. I guess I'm hoping. I don't want it to be anything. I don't want anything there. But I can feel pretty much from my hip to my breast. I mean, just like that much. I feel little bumps. Some are markedly larger. And I had the oncologist feel that, and she has some concerns as well. And that's why I just got scans. I wasn't really due for them, but I just got them the other day. And now you're up to date. I haven't seen the oncologist yet. I will see her Monday, and then I will upload another video. So I did this one in record time, didn't I? It's okay. It's just, I keep telling the story. It's just going to get faster and faster. And now you're up to date. I guess one of the most important parts of the story is my Iggy. Iggy and I have been through a lot. When I started getting sick, I realized I needed to rehome this guy. And he is my joy. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have 2 cats I love. But, you know, I'm definitely an Iggy person. So I am so blessed. I know you want to take a nap. I just will come up. Sorry. I'm so blessed to have Iggy anytime I want, really. They're so kind. And I know that when I do leave, Iggy is just going to be well loved and taken care of as he is now. And that is one little guy I will not have to worry about. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Here's your lammy. Okay. So anyway. All right. I'm going to close. And I guess it's not fair if I don't show you pictures of the cats too. Gomez and Gloria. Well, whether you're new or not, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. If you made it this far, and I'll put a little dog or cat, your choice, in the comments. I can't help myself. I just love these animals. Yeah, I mean, I really do. I didn't mean to think that I didn't love Gomez and Gloria. They're really, I guess I'm more of a cat person now than I ever was. And they're great company for me too, especially when Chris is at work. Yes, in case you are new, I have a husband. His name's Chris, and I have a stepchild, Neon. And yeah, they're great. So Neon's going to be coming to stay with us for the summer. They're turning 16 in a few days. So I'm sure over the summer I'll talk more about Neon. Anyway, until the next video, I love you all, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope you have a great week. Okay, bye.